Hare Krishna.
All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutare Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Shami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
We're reading from Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, Chapter 1, Text 162.
কানাইর নাটশালা হইতে আসিব ফিরিয়া, জানিবে পশ্চাৎ, কহিল নিশ্চয় করিয়া।
Nri Singhananda Brahmachari said, the Lord will go to Kanai Natashala and then will return. All of you will come to know of this later, but I now say this with great assurance.
গোসাই কুলিয়া হইতে চলিলা বৃন্দাবন, সঙ্গে সহস্রেক লোক যত ভক্তগণ।
When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to proceed from Kulia toward Vrindavan, thousands of men were with him, and all of them were devotees.
যাহা যায় প্রভু তাহা কোটি সংখ্য লোক, দেখিতে আইসে দেখি খণ্ডে দুঃখ শোক।
Wherever the Lord visited, crowds of innumerable people came to see him. When they saw him, all their unhappiness and lamentation disappeared. You know what that's called? You know what that's called? Darshan. Darshan. Yeah.
যাহা যাহা প্রভুর চরণ পরয়ে চলিতে, সে মৃত্তিকা লয় লোক, গর্ত হয় পথে।
Wherever the Lord touched the ground with his lotus feet, people immediately came and gathered the dirt. Indeed, they gathered so much that many holes were created in the road.
ওইছে চলি আইলা প্রভু রাম কেলি গ্রাম, গৌড়ের নিকট গ্রাম অতি অনুপাম।
Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eventually arrived at a village named Ramkeli. This village is situated on the border of Bengal and is very exquisite. Ramkeli Gram is situated on the banks of the Ganges on the border of Bengal. Srila Rupa and Sanatan Goswami had their residences in this village. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Jena Tasmaya Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Shapandantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Before speaking, I'd like to ask the permissions and blessings of all devotees, particularly those who are senior by age and or Krishna conscious. Krishna. Well, thank you. So have you seen, I don't know if you've seen the map of Bengal. So in the lower part, the southeastern part of Bengal, along the coast, you find the big city of what? Calcutta, isn't it? Yeah. And then if you move north, just a little bit inside, then about 80 miles north is Madhya, Navadvip area. That's called the Nadia district in the Bengal and other states of India. They call it districts instead of counties, so Nadia district is there. Then if you go further north, another 80 miles or so, then Bengal becomes the tract of land in Bengal becomes very thin, and before it opens up into a larger tract where there's Kuch Bihar and other places. But in that small, very thin tract of land, which is situated on the border of Bengal and what?
Is it Bangladesh?
Now it's Bangladesh. Yeah. So apparently even back then there was a separation between West and East Bengal. But that small piece of land there in that place, there's Ramakeli, and there was also the capital of Nawab Hussain Shah was there also, nearby Ramkeli. So, and that's where Rupa and Sanatan Goswami had their residence in that village, Ramkeli Gram. And the nice name were the Anupam, exquisite. Anupam. So there's a devotee who was here whose name was Anupama, which is different, but Anupam is exquisite place. Next verse.
তাহা নৃত্য করে প্রভু প্রেমে অচেতন কোটি কোটি লোক আইসে দেখিতে চরণ
While performing Sankirtan in Ramkeli Gram, the Lord danced and sometimes lost consciousness due to love of God. While at Ramkeli Gram, an unlimited number of people came to see his lotus feet. There's a book written about the life of Narottam Das Thakur. And in that book, it mentions that Lord Caitanya did Sankirtan in a place by the Padma River, which is now in Bangladesh, near Caituri Gram, which was where Narottam Das Thakur appeared. So it's not mentioned there when in among Lord Chaitanya's pastimes did he go to have Sankirtan there by the banks of the Padma River and in Bangladesh. But it might be this time. Srila Prabhupada never clarifies or mentions that, so I can't say. But it may be it's about 50 miles from Ramkeli to Caituri Gram across the border in Bangladesh. Questions, comments? Next verse.
গৌরীশ্বর যবন রাজা প্রভাব শুনিয়া কহিতে লাগিল কিছু বিস্মিত হয়
When the Muslim king of Bengal heard of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's influence in attracting innumerable people, he became very much astonished and began to speak as follows. Purport. At that time, the Muslim king of Bengal was Nawab Hussain Shah Badshah, or we say Nawab Hussain Shah. Yeah. So why do you think it came to his attention and he was so astonished?
How a person can attract so many people? He must be some influential, powerful personality.
Yes, and so then?
So what the question? Why?
Yes.
Why you were surprised?
And it came to his attention, yeah.
Was he worried that his popularity would affect his position?
Certainly that could be a concern, isn't it? Anytime somebody is in charge, if someone else has some influence, then they immediately come to their attention, and they may or may not have to deal with them. Of course, that happens in every country, and also in this country. Anytime there's a protest movement, the government becomes very, very concerned, and they send their spies and other things to infiltrate. So it's not unusual that the activities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to the attention of Nawab Hussain Shah, since he was the king of that area. So he wanted to know, okay, what's going on with this person? And he was surprised. Yeah. Next verse.
বিনা দানে এত লোক যার পাছে হয় সেই তো গোসায়া ইহা জানিও নিশ্চয়।
Such a person who was followed by so many people without giving them charity must be a prophet. I can surely understand this fact. So this is an interesting point, because usually in Islam they say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. There's one God and Muhammad is his prophet. So here he's, even though he's a Muslim, he's thinking, oh, this Chaitanya must be some kind of prophet. Very interesting.
কাজী জবন ইহার না করিহ হিংসন আপন ইচ্ছায় বুলুন যাহা উহার মন।
The Muslim king ordered the magistrate, do not disturb this Hindu prophet out of jealousy. Let him do his own will, whatever he likes. Purport. Even a Muslim king could understand Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's transcendental position as a prophet. Therefore, he ordered the local magistrate not to disturb him, but to let him do whatever he liked.
এইসব ছত্রীরে রাজা বার্তা পুছিল প্রভুর মহিমা ছত্রী উড়াইয়া দিল।
When the Muslim king asked his assistant, Keshav Chatri, for news of the influence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Keshav Chatri, although knowing everything about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, tried to avoid the conversation by not giving any importance to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities. Purport. Keshav Chatri became a diplomat when questions about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although he knew everything about him, he was afraid that the Muslim king might become his enemy. He gave no importance to the Lord's activities, so that the Muslim king would take him to be an ordinary man and would not give him any trouble. Now, this is another interesting point. So didn't we just hear that the king, he told the magistrate, don't bother this person. And then Keshav Chatri is, saying, oh, he's trying to downplay Lord Chaitanya's presence there because he doesn't want the king to bother him. It seems like it's contradictory, doesn't it? What do you make of that?
Probably Keshav Chatri knows that what the king said earlier is not what he meant, or he understands the king's sort of character.
You could say, yes. Acharya Prabhu.
Never trust a politician.
That's what I was thinking. Where does that come from? That's Chanakya.
It's Chanakya, but I think everyone knows it though.
Yes. Never trust a politician or an animal with horns, etc., etc. Those, yeah. So even though he's saying this one time, politicians are famous for saying one thing and doing something else. So Keshav Chatri taking a conservative stand. He's saying, be careful about this person, because you cannot, even though he's said some positive things here, and next moment he might become the enemy or become an enemy of Lord Chaitanya. Yeah, that's how I take it. Thank you.
ভিখারি সন্ন্যাসী করে তীর্থ পর্যটন তারে দেখিবারে আইসে 2-4 জন।
Keshav Chatri informed the Muslim king that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a mendicant touring different places of pilgrimage, and that as such, only a few people came to see him.
জবনে তোমার ঠাঁই করয়ে লাগানি, তার হিংসায় লাভ নাহি, হয় আর আরো হানি।
Keshav Chatri said, out of jealousy, your Muslim servant, period, plots against him. I think that you should not be very interested in him, for there is no profit in it. Rather, there is simply loss. So apparently there was some plot afoot. Otherwise, Keshav Chatri might not say that. So he's giving some advice to the king. You know, it said that trees on the bank of a river, a young woman in another man's house, and a king without counselors goes without doubt to swift destruction. Another Chanakya Pandit Shloka saying. So here Keshav Chatri is advising him this way. It's always important to have good, trusted advisors. Even, you know, we see in the Ramayana, there were various advisors, even to Ravana. He kept his advisors, and one of his advisors was Vibhishan. Yeah, and Vibhishan gave him advice that was correct, but did not he was not very pleasing to Ravana, so he threatened him. Eventually, Vibhishan came to the support of to support Ramchandra, but still, the principle there was that to surround oneself with advisors so that one can get a good, and not only people will just be what we say in this country, bootlickers. Have you ever heard that word, bootlickers? That's what, and in India they say dadagiri or chamchagiri, isn't it? Chamchagiri, dadagiri, chamchagiri. So that's so not just those kinds of people, because it's important to get a variety of understandings to make your decision. So apparently there was some kind of plot, which is not unusual in this material world. We are everyone comes here because of envy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here's Lord Caitanya personally. So certainly there are going to be some of those. We've already seen it happened in Navadvip. So of course, later in his pastimes also, time and again, various people come and have some negative influence on or attempt to negatively deal with Lord Chaitanya. But as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he always comes out successfully.
রাজারে প্রবোধি কেশব ব্রাহ্মণ পাঠায়া, চলিবার তরে প্রভুরে পাঠাইল কহিয়া।
After pacifying the king in this way, Keshav Chatri sent a Brahmin messenger to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, requesting him to leave without delay. Very interesting, a Brahmin messenger. We saw the same case with Queen Rukmini prior to her marriage to Shishupal. She sent a Brahmin messenger to Lord Krishna, if you remember that. So any guesses about why a Brahmin messenger might be sent as opposed to another kind of messenger?
Because they are trustworthy.
Trustworthy.
Yes. And why would they be trustworthy? Like truthful? Shama, Dhamma, Tapa, Shocham, Shanti, Rajavamevacha, Jnana, Vijnanam, Astikam, Brahma, Karma, Svabhavajam. And in politics, everybody's always trying to get, the upper hand by various ways, by threats, by bribes, isn't it? So, you can bribe an employee of somebody else to get inside information. So a Brahmin, they're not supposed to be influenced by bribes or threats. They're not materially motivated in that sense. So intelligently, Keshav Chatri sent a Brahmin messenger to warn Lord Chaitanya to leave.
ধোবির খাসেরে রাজা পুছিল নিভৃতে, গোসাইর মহিমা তেহ লাগিল কহিতে।
In private, the king inquired from Dabir Khas, Srila Rupa Goswami, who began to speak about the glories of the Lord. So it doesn't seem like Nawab Hussain Shah was he wasn't fully understood the situation, so he continued to ask his other ministers, in this case, Dabir Khas, who became Srila Rupa Goswami. Sometimes the Dabir Khas and the other name, pre-initiation name of Rupa Goswami's brother was what? Do you remember? Rupa Goswami's brother?
Malik or something?
Shakara Malik. Yeah, Shakara Malik. So you can keep them separate because Shakara Malik is the first letter in his name is S, and the first letter of Sanatana Goswami's name is S. So that's how you can keep them. Dabir Kash is Rupa Goswami, no R there, but at least Shakara Malik, that's Sanatana Goswami. So here the king talked to Dabir Kash and he began to speak about the glories of the Lord. Next.
যে তোমারে রাজ্য দিল, যে তোমার গোসায়া, তোমার দেশে তোমার ভাগ্যে জন্মিলা আসিয়া।
Srila Rupa Goswami said, that's interesting that we said Srila Rupa Goswami because he hadn't yet been initiated, but still. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who gave you this kingdom and whom you accept as a prophet, has taken birth in your country due to your good fortune.
তোমার মঙ্গল বাঞ্ছে কার্যসিদ্ধি হয়, ইহার আশীর্বাদে তোমার সর্বত্রই জয়।
This prophet always desires your good fortune. By his grace, all your business is successful. By his blessings, you will attain victory everywhere. Isn't this interesting? So Rupa Goswami, as W. Kas, is reminding Nawab Hussain Shah that his victories and his opulent economical circumstances are all due to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though he's perhaps in some ways inimical to the Vedic culture. Still, by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's suggesting he recognized that. That's the cause of his opulence and success. Which applies to everyone, all of us, devotee, non-devotee.
মোরে কেন পুছো, তুমি পুছো আপন মন, তুমি নরাধীপ হও বিষ্ণু অংশ সম।
Why are you questioning me? Better that you question your own mind. Because you're the king of the people, you are the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you can understand this better than I.
তোমার চিত্তে চৈতন্যের কইছে হয় জ্ঞান, তোমার চিত্তে যেই লয় সেই তো প্রমাণ।
Thus, Srila Rupa Goswami informed the king about his mind as a way of knowing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He assured the king that whatever occurred in his mind could be considered evidence.
রাজা কহে শুনো, মোর মনে যেই লয়, সাক্ষাৎ ঈশ্বর ইহ নাহি সংশয়।
The king replied, I consider Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no doubt about it. This is quite a statement coming from a Muslim king, isn't it? Who like I said, their view is that Muhammad was the seal of the prophet, the last prophet. So This is quite a surprising, but here we see. Next.
এত কহি রাজা গেলা নিজ অভ্যন্তরে, তবে দবিরখাস আইলা আপনার ঘরে।
After having this conversation with Rupa Goswami, the king entered his private house. Rupa Goswami, then known as Dabir Kas, also returned to his residence. Purport. A monarch is certainly a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the proprietor of all planetary systems. In each and every planet, there must be some king, governmental head, or executive. Such a person is supposed to be the representative of Lord Vishnu. On behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he must see to the interests of all the people. Therefore, Lord Vishnu, as Paramatma, gives the king all intelligence to execute governmental affairs. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore asked the king what was in his mind concerning Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and indicated that whatever the king thought about him was correct. This is another very interesting point Srila Prabhupada is making about the position of a leader or king in human society. They have some special potency or guidance given by the Paramatma, the super soul, to see to the interests of all the people in their kingdom or all the subjects. Of course, it is often the case that, especially nowadays, that the king will, even though the dictation is there from the super soul, will neglect that instruction and do something else. So how do we know that an instruction is coming from the super soul or is something whimsically created? How would we know that?
You confirm from the sadhus.
Yes. You confirm it by sadhus and shastra. Sadhus and shastra. So that dictation is there, and sadhu shastra will reconfirm it. This another interesting point here is that, in the Mahabharata, Yudhishthir Maharaj, prior to his being still as a prince, he was asked to engage in a dice match, isn't it? Oh, the dice match actually happened after he was actually king, yes. And that was the dice match was after the burning of the house of Lac, isn't it? So in the house of Lac, Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, and company had tried to murder the 5 Pandavas. So now there's the request that Yudhishthir engage in a dice match with Shakuni, not just with Duryodhana, but with Shakuni. And he says, well, it's not a good idea to play dice, to gamble, because in doing so, one's senses becomes carried away and one becomes a little crazy. Does that happen? Thankfully, in the Hare Krishna movement, our minds don't get carried away by gambling, because we try to follow those 4 regulative principles. One of them is not to gamble. But Yudhishthira Maharaj was challenged by Shakuni, and Dhritarashtra, who was considered the king, he supported that idea. So, since he was the king and his superior, and because he was challenged, so many factors, therefore he accepted the challenge, even though it was against his initial interest. So he accepted, he took the king as being a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He didn't want to go against that, even though there were some situations previously that were negative about that situation. Now we'll see later, even though Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami are accepting Nawab Hussain Shah as somehow some kind of representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when it came to joining the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nawab Hussain Shah asked Sanatan Goswami not to go. In fact, he imprisoned him, if you remember. We'll see that later in the Madhya Lila. So how do you take that? That here he's saying, oh, he's the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he rejected him and went to join Lord Chaitanya. How do you reconcile those two ideas? You understand the question? Was that clear?
Well, Shastrically, he is representative of Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yes.
It depends on the person, his association. If they are not trained, just like everyone claims they are religious, but they don't follow the codes.
Yes.
King is supposed to be the representative of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by his mercy only one becomes king. But one should not learn further how to discharge one's duty.
Yes. Yes. So the king, Nawab Hussain Shah, here in this instance is saying, oh, I accept Lord Chaitanya as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? And then when Sanatan Goswami wants to join Lord Chaitanya, he says, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. So he puts him in jail, right? So his understanding of Lord Chaitanya as the Supreme Personality of Godhead wasn't very strong and did not endure, right? If you're thinking, oh, here my minister wants to join God, wouldn't you allow? If you really believe he's God? So therefore we say that even someone who is in a position of authority, might be a king, might be father, mother, might be spiritual teacher, if they go against the directions of worship and service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they can be rejected.
Yeah.
Bali Maharaj was told by his spiritual master, Shukracharya, don't give anything to Vishnu, he'll take everything from you. But he rejected him because he wanted to give to Vishnu, and that's the ultimate goal of all Varnashram, of all Shastra, Vasudeva Parabheda. The whole purpose of everything is to worship Vishnu, Krishna, Vasudeva. And here's Vasudeva in the form of Vamaneva in front of him. So he rejected. Brahma asked the four Kumaras to beget children. They said, no, actually, we want to remain brahmacharis because we have a higher purpose, which is spiritual realization. That's more important to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that they are accepted. Bali Maharaj accepted, went against Shukracharya. Therefore, he's one of the 12 Mahajans. Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu, Kumar, Kapila, Manu, Prahlad, Janaka, Bhishma, Bali, Vyasaki, Vayam. So Sanatan Goswami later will, even though technically the king is a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when he would prove to be an impediment to doing devotional service to the Lord, he did not recognize that position. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Questions, comments?
So when you said who will confirm that the monarch or the king or the head is working according to, he's doing the right thing to be considered representative of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who is, you confirm from the Shastras and sadhus, but who is going, so the monarch himself is supposed to do that when he is, in his
That would
being.
be advisable, sure. That's why the king is always recommended to have advisors. Several advisors that are, and those advisors should be spiritually conscious persons. Usually there were Brahmins who would advise as well as others.
From the history, looks like the advisors are always spiritually qualified people, whichever culture it is, even I'm assuming Christianity also, or at least we can see in Muslims also, they keep the religious people, spiritual, who has knowledge of Quran for advisor. That's my understanding.
Yeah, at least in the past. And even today, I don't know who Trump's advisor is, spiritual advisor, but Barack Obama supposedly had a spiritual advisor. We know that Nawab Hussain Shah, even though he's talking here about with Rupa Goswami, he had his spiritual advisor was, Chand Kazi. Chand Kazi was taken as the spiritual advisor of Nawab Hussain Shah. So you're right, I agree. But generally speaking, and nowadays more or less it's quite often it's just for show, just because there's a certain amount of sentiment. Okay, but that was the tradition. You're correct, and same thing here. Thank you. Next 182.
ঘরে আসি দুই ভাই যুক্তি করিয়া প্রভু দেখিবারে চলে বেশ লুকায়া.
After returning to his residence, Dabir Khas and his brother decided after much consideration to go see the Lord incognito. Why do you think he went incognito? It's not said.
Many regions.
Okay, like?
They are in leadership position.
Yes. They're not just anybody. They're well-known people, right?
Yeah.
They're big shots.
And externally they are serving the king. Internally, their heart is to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's to not disturb the relationship with king also. And also as a well-wisher of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Sure. Yes. Good point.
অর্ধরাত্রে দুই ভাই আইলা প্রভু স্থানে প্রথমে মিলিলা নিত্যানন্দ হরিদাস শনে.
Thus, in the dead of night, the two brothers, Dabir Kash and Shakara Malik, went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu incognito. First, they met Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur. So, Ardha Ratre. What does that mean? Ardha usually means half.
Ardha means half. Ardha means half. Night, midnight.
So I guess Lord Chaitanya was up. He was, yeah, okay. So in midnight,
Telugu
middle of
also
the,
they say Ardharatri.
this is very, so it's the middle of the night, because they're going incognito. They don't want other people to see what's going on. They might blab or something could happen. Okay. First, they said Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur. Great. Okay. This is a big deal. This is the first meeting of Lord Chaitanya with his eternal servants, Rupa and Sanatana. Text 184.
তারা দুইজন জানাইলা প্রভুর গোচরে রূপ সাকর মল্লিক আইলা তোমা দেখিবারে.
Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur told Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that two personalities, Sri Rupa and Sanatan, had come to see him. Purport. Shakara Malik was the name of Sanatan Goswami and Dabir Khas was the name of Rupa Goswami. they were recognized by these names in the service of the Muslim king. Therefore, these are Muslim names. As officials, the brothers adopted all kinds of Muslim customs. As it sometimes happens when people come to, say, the United States, they have a Indian type name, they change their name. Does it ever happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of names to change.
Very happy. I know a man whose name was Manmohan. So he made it Manny. People can make it easier for people.
Yeah,
Maybe you have a particular name. I don't know.
Did this Krishnadas Kailash Goswami put so that we can understand, or the right conversation he put it? Chaitanya Nityananda Prabhu says Rupa and Sanatana has come.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. This is before they wrote to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right?
No,
I mean,
they had
after
previously written. They had previously written to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
Yeah.
and we'll see that he instructed them, and then this is. We'll see. He'll say that the only reason he came to Bengal was to meet these two brothers. He'll say that, although there were other factors involved also, but he'll say that at one point here. Text 185.
দুই গুচ্ছ তৃণ দুহে দশনে ধরিয়া গলে বস্ত্র বাঁধি পরে দণ্ডবৎ হয়া.
In great humility, both brothers took bunches of straw between their teeth, and each binding a cloth around his neck, fell down like rods before the Lord. We talked about that previously, yeah. Bunches of straw and binding a cloth around the neck. Okay. Text 186.
দৈন রোদন করে আনন্দে বিপল প্রভু কহে উঠো উঠো হইল মঙ্গল.
Upon seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two brothers were overwhelmed with joy, and out of humility, they began to cry. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked them to get up and assured them of all good fortune. Hoila Mangal, Hoila Mangal. Yeah. So you can just think that the perfection of life is there to have the audience, be in the presence of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they're experiencing this presence. So at one point, perhaps one of you or all of you will have the same opportunity to have be in the presence of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like this, or in the chanting of the holy names of the Lord also. Text 187.
উঠি দুই ভাই তবে দন্তে তৃণ ধরি দৈন্য করি স্তুতি করে কর জোর করি.
The two brothers got up, and again taking straw between their teeth, they humbly offered their prayers with folded hands. So these prayers, they're not too many prayers, but I was thinking that just as the Rupa and Sanatan offered their prayers to Lord Chaitanya, perhaps we can repeat those prayers for our purification and benefit. If you can, Kavita, chant each line, and then we'll repeat each line here. We can repeat them.
জয় জয় শ্রীকৃষ্ণ চৈতন্য দয়াময়.
Joy, joy, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Dayamoy. You got it? Oh, most people are muted. Yeah.
Should I continue?
Yes.
পতিত পাবন জয় জয় মহাশয়.
Patit Pavana Joy,
Jai Jai
Joy Mahashay. Translation. I say, you say. Okay. In English now. All glories to Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
the most merciful savior of the fallen souls,
the
The
most
Most merciful Savior of the
fallen
Lord.
souls.
all glories to the Supreme Personality.
All
All
glories
glories
to
to
the
the
Supreme
Supreme
Personality.
Personality.
नीच जाति नीच संगी करी नीच काज
Neech jati, neech sangi, kori neech kaj.
नीच जाति नीच संगी
Sangi
नीच
kori
काज।
neech kaj.
তোমার অগ্রেতে প্রভু কহিতে বাসি লাজ
Tomar
Tomar agrete
Agrete
prabhu
प्रभु
kohite
करीते
bashi
लाज।
laj. Sir, we belong to the lowest class of men.
Sir,
Sir, we belong to the lowest class of men,
And our associates and employment
and our
and our
associates in
employment
employment
are also of the lowest type.
are also the lowest type.
type.
Therefore, we cannot introduce ourselves to you.
Therefore,
We
we cannot
cannot
introduce
introduce
ourselves
ourselves
to
to you.
We feel very much ashamed
We
We
feel
feel
very
very
much
much ashamed
standing here before you.
standing here before you.
Purport. Although the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, at that time Dabir Kash and Shakara Malik, presented themselves as being born in a low family, they nonetheless belonged to a most respectable Brahmin family that was originally from Karnataka. Thus, they actually belonged to the Brahmin caste. Unfortunately, because of being associated with the Muslim governmental service, their customs and behavior resembled those of the Muslims. Therefore, they presented themselves as Neech Jati. Neech means low. Jati, lowborn. Yeah, the word Jati means birth. According to Shastra, there are three kinds of birth. The first birth is from the womb of the mother. The second birth is the acceptance of the reformatory method. And the third birth is accepted by the acceptance by the spiritual master, initiation. One becomes abominable by adopting an abominable profession or by associating with people who are naturally abominable. Rupa and Sanatan, as Dabir Kash and Shakar Malik, associated with Muslims who are naturally opposed to Brahminical culture and cow protection. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, it is stated that every person belongs to a certain classification. A person is identifiable by the special symptoms mentioned in the Shastras. By one's symptoms, one is known to belong to a certain caste. Both Dabir Kas and Shakara Malik belong to the Brahmin caste, but because they were employed by Muslims, their original habits degenerated into those of the Muslim community. Since the symptoms of Brahminical culture were almost nil, they identified themselves with the lowest caste. In the Bhakti Ratnakara, it is clearly stated that because Shakara Malik and Dabir Kas associated with lower class men, they introduced themselves as belonging to the lower classes. Actually, however, they had been born in respectable Brahmin families. Questions, comments?
It's a lot of things to contemplate. These are very deep subjects, I feel. But the birth is here mentioned about 3. I didn't know Jata Karma. I think reformatory method is Jata Karma it is referring to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't realize that taking birth from mother's womb, and second birth is reformatory method is second birth. I didn't know. I thought second birth is when you take initiation. That's the second one. But I think this is referring to Jata Karma, am I right? Samskara.
Well, reformatory method, we say, I think the Vedic shloka is Janmane Jayate Shudra Sanskara Bhaved Dvija, isn't it? Sanskara. So the reformatory method begins, right after birth. There are so many sanskaras, purificatory rituals, and that culminates in the initiation by the spiritual master. So that's how I take it, but it's not explained further. What do you think?
It culminates, definitely it culminates, but it specifically written as third birth is acceptance of the spiritual master initiation.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then why do we call it Dvija? Someone said Dvija. That's two.
Yeah. Dvija, yeah. But Dvija is for referred to not only Brahmana, but those who are in a Kshatriya initiation.
Yes. Kshatriya and Vaishya also can be considered. They're accepting reformatory method, but Veda Pata Dvajet Vipra Brahma Janatiti Brahmana. Someone who's actually studied the Vedas and knows the Vedas, knows what is God, Brahmana. That's a Brahmana. So it's a little different.
Yeah. They get initiated only for the studying shastras in this field, and Brahmana, Vaishya and Kshatriya, they get initiated in their field and under their teachers.
Yes.
So, this is a lot of things I like. Of course, I like it very deep. Is Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, it's their humility, they say we are lower. But in general, people don't think lower, right? They think this is the best, that's what I'm doing.
Yes, that's that's our disease. We want to think we're best. We're number one. And we don't like to bow down this way, Dandavats type. And, Srila Prabhupada was, one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, Gargamuni, said, I don't feel like bowing down. Should I still bow down? And Prabhupada said, yes. You bow down and then you'll get the feeling. So generally, we don't want to bow down to anybody, particularly Krishna and the spiritual master. But if we are a little more recognizing our condition, our position as being caught in the waves of material energy and being deluded by our false ego, in such a case, then we see the necessity of bowing down to superior, like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his representatives. So even though they were, big ministers in the government, they took a very low position. And it's not, I don't know anywhere where it's described, Srila Prabhupada mentions in this purport that they adopted the behavior and customs of the Muslims. Exactly what those behaviors and customs were, I don't know. They wore Muslim dress, I know that. But further than that, it's not explained.
Well, when we become Hare Krishna, our custom, the way we act, the way we offer obeisance, that changes, based on the local etiquettes. And so similarly, Muslims have their way of their etiquettes, their way of dealing. So that certainly appears different. From their act, you can figure out they're from different category.
Yes, certainly.
I hope you came to the eating meat or not. That's the different.
I'm not making any comment about that. We don't know. There's never actually in some of in the Bhakti Ratnakar and others, there's descriptions that the Rupa and Sanatan were quite elevated in their scholarship and they were studying the Shastras and everything, and that they were kind of forced into the service of Nawab Hussain Shah by threats and things like that. Okay. So exactly what customs they adopted and behavior they adopted, I don't know. One only thing I know is they were wearing Muslim dress, but perhaps when they went to see Lord Chaitanya, you'll see when they went to see Lord Chaitanya, the pictures are there. You'll find what are they wearing?
Yeah.
They're in dhoti, right? They're dhotis. So were they in dhoti when they were in the court of Nawab Hussain Shah? I don't know. But when they went to see Lord Chaitanya, like King Prataparudra, King Prataparudra went to see Lord Chaitanya. He didn't go in a king's dress. He came in the dress of, like a brahmana. So contrasting how Nawab Hussain Shah, when Ramananda Roy wanted to join Lord Chaitanya and leave his government post, what did Prataparudra Maharaj do? He says, no, you can't do it. If you go, I'm going to put you in jail, right? Has he said that? No. He said, please, yes, go, and I'll give you a pension. You don't have to worry. Yeah. So he really recognized the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Lord Chaitanya. Whereas Nawab Hussain Shah will find when Sanatan Goswami wanted to join Lord Chaitanya, oh, no. Put him in jail. That's what happened. A little different. Hare Krishna. Okay. So we're in the midst of the... Yeah, go ahead.
This is not small thing. There's a lot of things I know I have, because I always see, the what is Lord Chaitanya's heart, considering this time and place, dealing with this situation is not mere thousand years. Muslims, how our expectation, how we should treat, what should we expect outcome of this situation, what is our duty? Apparently looks like Rupa and Sanatan and Haridas Thakur, the prominent teachers of Vaishnavism, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, they came from Muslim background. So that is also possible if properly taught, properly
Yes.
happens.
Yes. That is the Hare Krishna movement all over the world. We're coming from backgrounds of all different kinds.
Yeah.
Somebody's coming from a Brahmin background. Some is coming from a Shudra background. Some is coming from a Mlecha, Jabana background. All kinds. There's the verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's very... Shukadeva Goswami says, Kirata Vunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abira Shumba Yavanaka Sadaya Yenye Chapapa Yadupasra Yashriya Shudanti Tasmai Prabhavishnave Nama. People from all these different... Kurata means hunters. Huns, the Huns. Andhra, people from Andhra Pradesh. Andhra, Pulkasha, the Greeks, all these kinds of people. Just by taking shelter of the pure devotee, they can become elevated to the supreme destination. So this, in my mind, this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam specifically predicts the spread of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, and specifically Srila Prabhupada's activities, elevating people from all countries, all societies, all cultures around the world. We don't see it happen. Do we have any other historical evidence of that happening previously? Maybe in a small way, but not in such a large way as this verse tends to portend, if that makes sense.
So it is our response, how we present our movement. That's the main. Yeah, it's my contemplation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu, and all. So we're in the middle of the prayers by these Rupa and Sanatan. We'll come back to those prayers. There are a few more prayers, just like there's prayers by Queen Kunti, prayers by Bhishma. So these are also prayers that we can think about and remember and get purified by. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Vancha
Krishna.
kalpatarubhyascha
His Grace Vishnugada Prabhu ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Bhakta Bindu ki jai, Samveta Gaur Bhakta Bindu ki jai.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.